Should the state embrace liberal ideals? Since the French Revolution, politics has been viewed as a struggle between leftist liberals and rightist conservatives. However, in most modern nations, all mainstream parties agree that protecting and promoting freedom is essential. A nation's essential duty is to uphold and promote freedom, termed liberalism. The U.S. Declaration of Independence lists freedom as one of 3 unalienable rights for all. The French Declaration of Human Rights states that humans are born free and equal in rights. The UN's Human Rights Declaration closely resembles the French Declaration. Liberals maintain that any legitimate state must honor citizens' freedoms. Since most laws restrict freedoms to some degree, in a liberal state, laws must be held to high standards to be reasonable. Since everyone has a moral right to freedom, it raises the question, why can the state violate people's freedoms? John Stuart Mill, a British liberal, argued that coercion is only justified to prevent harm to others. Harming others infringes on their freedoms. Thus, a liberal state has the right to stop you from causing harm. Generally, your freedom does not include the right to harm others. Many laws today are challenging to defend in this way. For instance, in most regions, it is illegal to walk around naked in public. But does not allowing public nudity really prevent harm to others? For example, laws against gambling, sex work, or drug possession exist, even though these activities can cause harm. Yet, many permitted activities in liberal countries also have risks. For example, high-risk investments, driving or drinking, where alcohol-related deaths far outnumber those from other drugs. Yet, very few libertarians advocate for laws that prohibit drinking alcohol. Take the issue of taxation. When the government imposes taxes, regardless of your feelings, it takes a portion of your money. When the government taxes, it takes part of your money, and when necessary, it will forcibly collect to pay for other expenses. Some government spending can prevent harm, but most does not seem to. Very few people would argue that these expensive government functions can prevent harm to others, such as public schools, government research, national parks, or mail delivery. Many laws are actually the reverse. In order to uphold moral decency and the common good, rather than primarily to prevent harm, actions such as walking around naked in public are deemed inappropriate and thus defined as illegal. Gambling, spending money for false assurances, and drug use are commonly viewed as immoral, hence many support their classification as illegal. Legal education, science, and the arts can promote the common good. This is why states in the US use tax revenues to fund them, adhering strictly to harm principles to avoid undermining any recent progress. These reasons are the law's basis. Some liberal philosophers, known for their radical ideas, argue that the state should not engage in promoting moral decency or the common good. They believe that public health, urban parks, and universal education are unreasonable uses of our tax contributions. Some even consider taxation itself a form of forced labor, viewing it as a serious infringement on freedom. However, it is clear that without tax revenue, the government would cease to function. Thus, most liberals are not as radical as they seem. In contemporary politics, the term liberal often refers to those who support liberal policies. More interventions, like environmental protection or promoting equality, seem to contradict our common sense. We usually think conservatives want more government intervention if liberalism is involved. If you really want to protect and promote freedom, it's tough to consider these actions as real liberalism. However, the meaning of freedom can be interpreted differently, particularly in education. Knowledge isn't exactly power, but ignorance definitely limits your freedom. Someone who is unaware of which mushrooms are toxic lacks the freedom to forage mushrooms independently. Conversely, those who know which mushrooms are poisonous enjoy a freedom that the ignorant cannot access. To truly promote freedom, you should encourage everyone to pursue education and gain knowledge. Therefore, fostering the development of freedom might not just be about safeguarding your existing freedoms, but also about how to expand them. If a law violates your freedom but increases others' freedoms, is it reasonable? Or does it mean the harm principle hasn't set the limits for a liberal state that cannot infringe upon freedom? How do you see this now?